Hello everyone. This is yet another episode of Let's Design, powered by Cindrebay School of Design. So, today in this episode, we have Takbir and Abeer from Designer Aware, who are from the field of architect. So, hello and welcome, both of you. Thank you so much for coming on our show.
Thanks, Poonam. We're really happy to be a part of the show.
Really. So Takbir and Abeer, why don't you tell us brief about you? Please, give your introduction.
Sure. I'm Takbir Fatima. I'm an architect and director of the experimental architecture and interdisciplinary design studio Design Aware. We have our we have our main studio in Hyderabad in India, and we have virtual studios in Dubai, London, and Dallas. And also, to give you a little bit of a background about myself, I'm an architect, and I've studied architecture here in Hyderabad, as well as done my master's at the Architectural Association Design Research Lab in London. And while I was a student there, I started to think about Design Aware and to start to establish this as an experimental design studio. And Abeer, you can introduce yourself.
So I'm Abeer. I'm the lead interior designer at Design Aware. I have a bachelor's in design, in interior design. And
you also teach,
so I
right?
am also a visiting faculty at AMSEC. It's a design college here in Hyderabad.
Lovely.
And I own my own brand of it's a lifestyle brand called Eclipse.
Okay.
So that's a little bit about me.
Lovely to know about that. So how old is Design Aware?
So as I said, I started it while I was a student, kind of virtually. So this was back in 2010. But then, it kind of over different stages, it has become more established. So if you want to talk about our studio space, then we established our studio, physically in 2014. And then we got registered in 2016, and there are many milestones of that sort.
I joined Design Aware in 2016 as well.
Lovely. So it's been quite a while, if I can really see, it's been more than a decade. So how far the journey has been, and what is your creative process?
So the way that we start any sort of design process is by first outlining our principles and our ideals for any particular project. So I think what really drives us is design. So, we want to do some sort of experiment when it comes to design. And so we don't have any particular type of project that we take up. We take up projects across different disciplines, across different scales and different typologies. But the common thread that sort of ties everything together is the fact that one thing is that we like to experiment and do something that we've never done before. So we're always, every time we do a new project, it's not something that we've done before. So it's something that we're learning for the first time, always. And the other thing that we focus on is the principles. And mostly for us, we're really driven by social responsibility and community building. So we like to take up projects that serve communities that are, for example, we've designed a charity school. We've designed a micro mosque. And we've designed, a tower for affordable housing, and so many other things which are more in service to the community. And that's something that we're really sort of passionate about. And also accessible design. So accessibility is something that we are really, we like to incorporate.
So, universal design is something that shouldn't be an afterthought in a building, but it usually is. So it should be incorporated since the start of the building, since the initiation of the idea.
Right.
I would say that our creative process includes a lot of model making or physical connect with the design. So that is something that I believe sets us apart.
Right. So we like to use our hands a lot. So we go back and forth between physical modeling and prototyping across different scales, and then digital tools as well. So we go back and forth between the physical and digital, and then we also like to make prototypes of in real material of whatever we're building.
Yeah, and also we work a lot in three-dimensional because that's what interior design and architecture is all about. So we don't start in 2D, we start in 3D.
3D.
So that kind of, yeah. So 3D as in not just on the computer, but also the physical ones, of course, are made in 3D. So yeah.
It is so interesting to know all of that, two little cute ladies are doing such a fantastic job. So I would like to know, and I'm keen, since you said that you're virtually established internationally as well. So how does the international market pursue a company, run by two Indian ladies sitting in India? So is there a faith in international market for Indians as far as architect field is concerned?
Certainly. So, I mean, Indians are in every field internationally, right? We're all leading all sorts of companies and many different fields. So yeah, I mean, we're the biggest population in the world. So, and also we're all highly educated. All Indians, I think, are known to be educated, and there are quite a few things that set us apart. And yeah, what we can talk about our personal experience. That has been, we've had a really positive experience working internationally. Because we have other design sort of associates who are located in different places in the world. Definitely we have the challenge of dealing with different cultures and different ways of working. That's always been there. But we actually, Abeer was born in Saudi Arabia. I grew up in Saudi Arabia. And so we've kind of had exposure to many different cultures. Be it in the UAE or the UK or India. So that navigating of cultures is really important when you want to work internationally. And also being able to network with different companies who share your values. So that's really important. So rather than geographical location, I think people are looking at shared values, and they're looking at people who can maybe realize what they're thinking of. So that could be somebody sitting anywhere in the world. And what we've seen in the last couple of years is that kind of thinking has caught on very much, because of course we had no choice the last couple of years, but we've been working virtually for a decade. But the rest of the world also started to become more common. And it started to become, people started to believe in the possibility of working remotely and making international connections, which has been a really positive thing, I think, for every field.
Lovely. It is so impactful and appealing to know that, in such a creative field of architect, you're talking about shared values, diversity, and, inclusion. And lovely to know that you're passionate about doing things for community. So, talking about your education in this particular expertise from Hyderabad in India, what do you think that, from students to, your professional life? So how is the current standard of education per se of architect in India and, since you have been student back in 2010, are there any developments which has happened of late in the last decade or so?
I think we have a really strong tradition when it comes to design and architecture education. And so those principles really guide us as architects and as designers. But what I find sort of lacking is the fact that students are moving faster than the system. Students are gaining more skills, and they're learning, they're looking at different sources of learning, and they're gaining all sorts of experience from different places, because everything is readily available online now. So I think our curriculum and our system needs to keep up with the students, and the students should be empowered and given more tools and more access to better facilities, better ideas, and ways of doing, introducing them to different ways of design and different ways of making. This is really important. And this is something the students are craving. They should not have to look outside the colleges for this.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with what Takbir said um, about the curriculum having, it should incorporate technology or the ever-changing digital age that we're in right now.
Advanced.
So it should.
Yeah.
Another thing that I would like to add to this is when students, after they graduate, most of them want to start their own practice. So they're not, they're a little confused because of course they're just freshers, they're just out of college, they don't know they're not aware of the next steps that they need to take. So maybe something like a business studies or something that would help them with the next steps or how to establish their own company, or these are the different types of companies. How do you get into that? How do you get into the business aspect of design? Because that is something that is not taught in colleges.
Right.
Right.
So this is something very, very interesting, and a take away, a little nugget that apart from really learning the skill set of designing or fashion or, architect or anything, how to run your own company with respect of management and business management. This is really important to do some short course, or maybe the colleges, the fashion colleges or the designing colleges can also incorporate a module for business management. That's really nice. Yeah. Okay, so tell me something more about, a few projects which has really given you immense satisfaction, and, how do you keep up with the work all given times?
Right. I think one project that we really enjoyed working on is this ice cream parlor that we did. This was our first design and build project. So we did everything from the branding to the interior design and the landscape design, the facade, everything, and then we also did the execution as well. So this was kind of a holistic end-to-end project for us, in which we learned a lot. And the video is actually we documented the entire process. So the video is there on YouTube, and you can see that. And I think the other project that we're working on right now, it's a small residence which is under construction, and that's also another project there where we took up design and build. And because we have so many skill sets and different levels of expertise in our studio, me being an architect and Abeer being an interior designer, we're able to kind of cover different parts of the design process. So once the architecture is completed, then from my end, first of all we collaborate while we're designing.
There is a lot of overlap between architecture and interior design, so we don't. There's not a clear boundary between the two disciplines. There's always an overlap, which kind of works in not just our favor, but in the client's favor as well.
So that is why we have a dynamic combination of Takbir and Abeer, comes one architect expertise, and one is the interior designer whose forte is interior designing. So lovely to know that. So Takbir and Abeer, individually, do you have any roadmap to give to Cindrebay students that, what to follow and not really miss out on the college life? Because at times what happens is 3-4 years you spend and, you're simply figuring out what to do. And when college gets over, and then you in retrospect think, oh, I should have done this, or I missed this opportunity, or anything like that. And once you're out of college, how to's and what to do's, if you can, throw some light on that.
I think during college, Abeer will be better equipped because she's closer.
I think even if as a student, you should, my advice would be to attend events, try to build your contacts, not just with people from different fields, but also from experienced designers and architects, because you might find a really good mentor in one of those experts. So I think networking and building your contacts is one of the things that I would ask the students to do, because that is something that I missed out on. That's something that I didn't do. So I would advise the students to do that.
Yeah, and I also think that visiting the site as much as possible, because that's something I feel I missed out on. That's usually the colleges are not really, that's something that is missing in our education, is that exposure to live construction sites, or design, whatever it is, maybe if you're a product designer, then the manufacturing units and that part of it, where they understand what the process is like to go from design to execution. This is something that I think every designer, no matter what background they're from, they need to learn. Because it's really nice to be able to design things, and we all love doing that. And we all love to experiment, but we also need to know how to realize what we design.
Absolutely.
And no matter how difficult it is, it's possible to realize it if you know the processes.
Yes, I agree completely.
What you say is that internship introducing from the college side is lacking. This is something which college must provide as an institute to the students. And if not the college is giving, then the students must be proactive to know such avenues where, they can have a live hands-on experience. And there only, you have the opportunity to meet as many mentors as possible. So tell me, both of you, that, right after the college, pursuing a job is better, or, straight away get into your being an independent entrepreneur works?
I think that question has no correct answer.
It depends on the person. It completely depends on the student and the person.
Right. So there are different ways of pursuing things. There are some people who start their own studio right when they're students, and then they might go do a job later, and they might come back. So there's no I wouldn't say that there is a formula for success, and there is no one right way of doing anything. And actually, I've talked about this in my TEDx talk, where I've talked about how there is no single correct answer to any given question. There's no single path. You can have many different paths, and they're all equally correct. And everyone's path can be different, and also their pace can be different. So somebody is doing something else at a certain point of their lives. Everybody's doing different things. So I think the marker of success is just what your goals are, and how far you've got in your own goals.
And how do you keep moving forward?
So I think there are good things to be said for both. Like, for just starting out on your own, you might just jump in, just like, we're sort of in this age of entrepreneurship, where everyone is really being encouraged to pursue their own, maybe even drop out. Some students drop out of college and they come back. So they pursue their own start their own startup or something like that. And every one of these things gives them some sort of learning experience. Or if you work for a company, you get to know what the culture is like, because you're not going to know all of these things beforehand. You're not going to know until you do it. Also teaching, I think students can also try teaching, or if they want to do their master's, they need to try it and see what they like to learn it, and only then they'll get to know what the right way is for them.
Right. So now this is something which is, coming to my mind. Say you're talking about networking and, building up contacts and going out there on the sites, this and that. So it definitely tells me a lot about personality traits. For some people, this comes effortlessly. But what if as a student, I'm a little, introvert and reticent, and creatively, I am a very good interior designer or an architect, but, personally, personality wise, I may not be like that, who reaches out to people. So for those kind of students, what can be the strategy that, what tips can you give them? Everyone has some tricks and trades and some formulas, so to say. So any advice you would like to give to such people?
build an online presence,
Mhm.
because that is something that works. It works even if you're, because the screen actually, or the computer actually becomes your facade,
Yeah.
and you're not actually really physically exposed
Mhm.
to the world, but you're
Okay.
still exposed to the world. So I think build an online presence is something that I would recommend.
Yeah.
And also, I think there's a lot of, I think everything is biased towards extroverts
Mhm.
because they are, they're more visible and they're louder and they're able to connect with people. But I think there's a lot to be said about introverts as well. There are a lot of people who are working in the background who are really brilliant, and they may not be people persons. So I think what's really important is for us to kind of, as a system, we need to realize that there are different personalities who are more comfortable in different roles, and allow them to kind of pursue those roles. So when I was a student, we were not really aware that there are many ways of being an architect or a designer. So an architect can, design buildings, but they can also teach, and they can also be environmentalists. They can be, researchers. There are so many different ways that you can pursue a design career. So it doesn't have to be a solo sort of master designer. It doesn't have to be somebody who is maybe a celebrity architect or something like that. It can be, you can also, if you're more comfortable working for a larger corporation, then you might be a part of that small team within a larger corporation, or you might be a solo sort of freelancer as well. So all of these are legitimate ways of being a designer. So there's no right or wrong way, as I said earlier.
Lovely, lovely to know that. And thank you so much for encouraging people, who really needed to hear this thing and get this reassurance that even if, I'm passionate about architecture or, interior designing, I still have my standing or existence. So thank you so much for being here on this show. I hope that, you also enjoyed. I thoroughly enjoyed, and seeing the wisdom which you have, both of you, not just professionally but personally also. It speaks volumes about you. So thank you so much for being here. And just for the good ending note, one little last message you would like to give uh, from your journey, or anything which is coming right now from your heart.
Right. I think everything is temporary. So even when things aren't going well or things are difficult, you know that it's going to pass, and you're going to reach a place which is easier. And maybe if you're going through a dark time, you might reach a place that is brighter, and that's always possible. And also, when you're on top, you shouldn't take that for granted either, because that might go away as well. So everything is really temporary. That would be my message.
Yeah. I agree with what Takbir said. Just keep going. Times will change. If something is not working out for you right now, it doesn't mean that it's not going to happen over time. Things will work out, and just keep, because sometimes as a designer or as an architect, things get tough. And we start to question ourselves. Is this the right path for me, or am I going in the right direction, or should I? It gets confusing at times, and it gets difficult. If somebody's going through that, then all I would say is just keep pushing yourself, and things will change, and times will change.
Yeah, and I think there's no pressure to, if you've selected one field, it's not necessary that because we have messages from students sometimes who say that I've joined as an interior designer, and I don't know whether this is the field for me.
Yes.
And I think students should be encouraged to be able to change their path if they really want to. But one really good thing I think about the design field is that it can form the basis for many other pursuits. So if you want to change your direction of your career, and you want to do something completely different, like you want to get into computation, then your design sort of background will serve as a basis for that. So I think that's really positive.
It becomes like a foundation for any career change that you're looking at.
So before we end, now this is something which is coming to me. How do you deal with, or if you can tell us something about, some experiences about creative blocks, or challenges where the client has tight deadlines, or he's not satisfied, something about that.
I think the first thing is when you're dealing, this is for those of us who deal directly with clients, right? So when you're dealing with the client, I think it's really important, and this should be taught from the beginning, from school or from colleges, that you are an expert, and that's why the client is coming to you. So you're going to be offering them help, and you're educating them, you're kind of guiding them, and you're as a consultant, that is your duty. That's the reason why the client has come to you. So if the client is really confused about certain things, it is sort of your place to clarify or remove that confusion. If they're really not able to understand certain things, then you need to make them understand by sharing your expertise.
Yeah.
So as a consultant and as an expert, I think this is really important. And yeah, if there are projects which have roadblocks, then of course, yeah, I mean, there are many ways of dealing with that. It's easy to get overwhelmed. But yeah, we've worked out a few things. One thing is that if there is a design block, then it really helps, even if there is a really tight deadline, but you need to deliver certain things which are creative, which require creativity, then it really helps to take a break and move away from what you're doing. It might seem like you're wasting time, but you actually get some sort of inspiration just by, taking a walk or going somewhere, just driving around. You get inspiration outside of your little, sort of your little world.
Yeah.
Where you're working.
Yeah. So try to release the pressure. Have a cup of coffee or watch a good movie or something like that. So
Breathe in.
yeah, one thing we also do is that if we're not able to do one design, then we put it aside and we do another one.
yes.
So
Because we work across a lot of
disciplines.
when we are blocked with, for example, if I have a creative block in one of my interior design projects, then I will be able to move on to my lifestyle brand and maybe work on the marketing for that, or maybe come up with a list of ideas for posts on Instagram or something like that. That diverts my attention away from the thing that is blocking my creativity, and then when I come back to it, it kind of helps and
Yeah,
it's
you
working.
bounce back to your creative juices. Lovely, lovely. Thank you so much for patiently, giving answers for each of my questions, which is coming out, organically in the moment. And this is the beauty of interviews. Sometimes I feel that, things just bubble up, and, you talk and you converse, and so many new nuggets can come out from these kind of conversations. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you so
Very
much.
nice talking to you.
Yeah, same here. It was truly our pleasure. From Cindrebay. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.